All right, let's go political now, everyone. It's been a long time coming, the issue of state of politics in Nigeria. When we returned to democracy in this country in 1999, I mean, well over 2 decades of counting, there were people who said, look, at last, the light is here. I mean, good governance, dividends of democracy, rule of law, and everything else in between. This is 2025, for example. Do we have evidence to boast of these things? For instance, there are those who say that, look, the only thing that has changed in Nigeria is just the nomenclature, but the real ingredients that drive democracy, that solidify the rule of law, are still largely missing. And by the time power changed hands in 2015, I mean, when former President Goodluck Jonathan lost to, well, as it then was, General Muhammadu Buhari, there were those who said it was high time the country tried a different kind of leadership. But of course, we understand that the former President Muhammadu Buhari had done 8 years, and it was one challenge after another. Today, another APC government and the leadership of President Bola Tinubu, it's virtually 2 years in the saddle. What exactly has changed? And in this regard, what ideally should be the role of opposition in this country? Well, for those who had thought before now that the PDP was going to be the light of hope, perhaps they are even more disappointed than they can imagine, because as it stands today, the PDP at best is a house divided against itself, with more than a handful of factions within that party. At this point, there's the talk about a possible coalition going into 2027. Question is, what are the chances of this happening? I have a member of the PDP here who is an insider of the party to help find perspective and some insights regarding this conversation. I'd like to call him Comrade Emmanuel Umeh, who is a former head of new media at the People's Democratic Party. First, I'll say thank you for coming, regardless of your busy schedule, and the weather has not been very clement this morning.
Yes, thank you. I thank God I made it.
Right.
I was running late, but thank God I made it. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. So let's talk about your party, the PDP. As it stands today, no doubt about it, the PDP is also gearing up for 2027, like every other party, like the APC, for example. But your party can hardly stand on one leg.
It's true. Very true. It's a sorry situation that we are in now today. The political party once, I use the word once, great political party of PDP is now almost a shamble of itself. It's unfortunate that we're here today. We all know the issues, and unfortunately, I will put this on the doorsteps of the leadership of the party. They have failed to do the needful and do things that will help project the political party PDP to a party that Nigerians will be able to embrace. If you go out on the street, you see that Nigerians have a lot of connections to PDP. From 1999 till when we left power, if you look at the achievements that we made in government, you will agree with me that compared to what we're seeing today, is nothing close to it. We have inflation at almost, I think the last time we checked was about 30-something% or so. I think
we're doing 33%.
30%, thank you. We left inflation at single digits. So you know, I just want to, so you see the life that we were living compared to the life that we're seeing today. Purchasing power was way better than what it was, than what it is today. So you can imagine that in less than 10 years, they've balkanized our economy. And it is painful that a political party like PDP that should harvest, you know, the advantage of what is going on with the APC, a lot of them can't put their house in order because of greed. And it's unfortunate. So, you know, it's a sorry state, especially when you see what the leadership of the party today is doing. From the Governors Forum down to the NWC members, we've called for NEC more than 5 times. You know, for every time that there's a NEC meeting, there's always one issue or the other. So it's unfortunate. I don't see anything. The last stakeholders meeting that happened with the governors and former governors, and then the NWC of the party. To be honest with you, I do not see anything tangible coming out of that.
Apparently, you are making reference to the Sunday night meeting,
Yes,
which by the next day, Monday, led to the inauguration of the BOT members.
Yeah,
so
that
you don't believe the BOT membership as it stands right now?
Did you read the newspaper today? Have you seen what the Southeast PDP said?
Yes, that they're bringing back Udo Okoye. So that's who they are nominating.
Yes, they said if the party do not respect,
they are pulling out.
They are pulling out. So it tells you, on the other hand, Wike is masterminding using Senator Sam Dadi to disintegrate the party.
That's somehow.
Yes. You know, if people say they don't want you. They don't want you. Must you force yourself on them?
But the Wike faction that you mentioned is banking on some court's injunction.
Did you see that Supreme Court decision? He said, "Go and sort your situation in-house. It's a family matter.
It's an internal issue.
You know, so for me, like I said, it's a sad event that the party is where it is today because people that should have put the party in check, unfortunately, many of them have allowed selfish ambitions, greed to, truncate or destroy the party and bring the party where it is today.
It's worrisome. I mean, I've heard senior members of your party, including the likes of people like Senator Dino Melaye, use very extreme words to describe the state of the PDP as it stands today. Some have said the PDP is dead and buried. Others say, well, the PDP is in intensive care, is in ICU. There are those who say, look, the PDP can never be restored, it's irredeemable and what have you. What's your sentiment?
It's the truth. Okay, look at the reconciliation committee that is set up. You are setting up reconciliation committee with people who have openly said they are going to support Tinubu in 2027. So who are you reconciling?
So that's counterproductive.
Of course. Go and look at the members of the reconciliation committee. Is it? We've been doing reconciliation. There is a former governor Yola's committee that is still standing. Reconciliation committee still. What did that one achieve? They've set up another reconciliation committee. You see, a party that refuses to respect its own rules will find itself where it is today. Number one, I believe and I personally felt that after the 2023 election, there were a lot of issues, both the Atiku side, the Wike side, any other side. There were a lot of issues. But I felt that after that election, we could have said, okay, let bygones be bygones. And we've agreed that mistakes were made. How do we now forge to bring back our party? Instead, you had persons like, the Minister of FCT, Mr. Wike, who at every occasion, even till a few days ago, keeps throwing disparaging remarks at the PDP. And you see that the leadership of the party can't even call him to order.
Why is that?
Of course, you already know because who dictates the tune. They say how they say it again. Who plays? Who
plays the pipe and dictates the tune? Yeah.
So you should know. Many of these things I've said he agreed. Many of them, probably.
But it's Nyesom Wike, former Rivers State Governor, now Minister of the FCT, bigger than your party.
That's what it's looking like. Because I wonder how one man, the guy has come out, revoked the license of the party. Revoked, the allocation of the party.
Right.
Revoked both the one in Wadata and then the one in central area here. So what else again are you waiting for?
So you're thinking the expulsion of Wike from the PDP is long overdue?
See, let me tell you today, God forbid, 100 times. But I know there was a time there were rumors about his health and everything. Did you see the reactions from Nigerians? If today Wike is expelled from the party, I can tell you today, you solved 60% of the problem, or even 70% of the problem.
So what do we attribute the other 30 or 40% to?
You can say maybe it's Atiku and some other people. Do you understand? I'm speaking dispassionately. I love Atiku as a person, but he too has his own issues. These governors, Atiku, all of them probably will fall into that 30%. And then they will now sit there and ask themselves the real truth. How do we move this party?
There are people who say that for PDP to make anything close to progress at this point, under the circumstance, you must find a way to remove the Atiku element and the Wike factor from
It's
the
not
party.
just, see, to be fair to Atiku, what is that? What are the issues that Atiku is contesting for election? If you look at the last primaries, if not that Tambuwal stepped down for Atiku, Wike would have coasted home. I was on the field that day. I was the campaign manager on media, especially on social media for Tambuwal. I was with him everywhere. I know the games that happened. Wike himself did not help matters. Probably Tambuwal would have even stepped down for him. So that Tambuwal steps down for the only place I blame Atiku is that he mismanaged something that should have just been his own, which was allow the former PDP chairman to have just gone.
Your child.
Yeah, because he didn't bring anything to the board. We didn't win. We didn't even get 25% in Benue. So what was his usefulness as a national chairman?
Some people say Mr. Atiku was doing an ego play, some power play.
That's why I said if he had managed the situation.
But I want to ask you something, just for perspective, really. There are those who say that Mr. Atiku made a mistake for even throwing his hat in the ring going into 2023 election because the PDP itself had an error of judgment bringing in the northern factor that position should have already by default been thrown to the south altogether. Do you share that position?
See, I do not, and I will explain why. And they do this thing for their own selfish reasons. So let's go back to historical perspective. From 1999, when Obasanjo contested, the then AC, I think at that time, had a candidate who was from the southwest, and we know it was we're just coming out post-military term. And then in 2007, in 2003, when Obasanjo recontested, who was the candidate of the, I think it was ANPP or APP at that time? It was former President Muhammadu Buhari. In 2007, when Yar'Adua contested, you had former President Yar'Adua, you had Muhammadu Buhari, former President, you had Shekarau, and then I think there was one other person, Ribadu, and Atiku. Right? Then in 2011, when Jonathan contested, go and check the people that contested against Jonathan. They were all from the north. None of them were from the south. In 2015, when Jonathan contested election, the candidate of the opposition party was from the north. Nobody decided for the opposition party that they must do zoning. In fact, I am of the opinion that you cannot defeat an incumbent party chairman with zoning. You cannot. It's almost extremely, I'm not saying it can't happen, but the chances are always very slim. If APC had brought a chairman from their presidential candidate from the south, Jonathan would have won the election. Same way if PDP had probably brought their presidential candidate from the north, we would have won the election. So for me, I believe that if we want to go into this aspect, it's something that the stakeholders will sit down and look at it and say, okay, when Wike wanted to contest the election in 2015, there was a clamor that it must go to the riverine area of River State.
Right.
Go and read his response.
They just speaking.
Yeah, the whether Ijo and the Calabari and all those people. He came out and said that in opposition, do not do zoning. The opposition thinks about winning election. That was his response in 2015. When Uche Secondus wanted to become the chairman of the party, Wike again came out to say, we cannot do zoning. We should give it to the strongest region where we have the biggest support base, which was the South-South. So for me, whenever they throw this zoning conversation, they do it at their own, will and something that favors them. I would say that you can't deny a man's rights, his constitutional means. There was an issue in 2015. After the 2015 election, there was a Korimadu committee who said, oh, because we did not allow the North to become the president, and on the basis of that, because the reason why you're asking me this question, I know it's based on that. I say, okay, let us zone it to the North. Now, but people forget that you don't blame Atiku. You know why? In 2019, after the election, Secondus at that time set up a committee, the Bala Mohammed committee, to do the same thing Ekorimadu did. Review the election, then give us a sense of direction. They reviewed the election, they released a report that said, oh, in our mind, we believe that it should be open. But if you are going to do zoning, the zoning must now be to either the northeast or the southeast. That recommendation was, after they presented it to NEC, they set up another committee to preside over that recommendation. And then, unfortunately, they were removed from office. Ayu now came into government and came into the party as the party chairman. And then he set up another committee, a 37-man committee, including the FCT, making it 37, each per person from one state.
Right.
They sat, they recommended that it should be thrown open. Only one person said it should be zoned to the south, which was the rep from, I think, Imo State. Every other person who was the chairman of that committee, he was his ally, former Governor Otom. He signed and said the committee, the election should be thrown open. So you cannot blame Atiku if you recommended that elections should be thrown open. Saraki contested in that election. He's a northerner. Bala Mohammed contested in that election. He was a northerner. Tambuwa picked form until the last day he stepped down for Atiku. Right. There was another person. About 5 of them or so were from the north. So you can't zero it down alone and just blame Atiku and say, oh, because Atiku. You know, what about the other northerners who bought tickets?
All right, I think there's enough blame to go around as far as
exactly.
The party is
so that's what I'm saying.
Right. So let's take a quick break, everyone. When we return, we'll talk about the bleeding, as it were, the manner of speaking that's not happening within the PDP by way of the mass defection that we've seen the last couple of weeks. In particular, plus what we say about those who are now, for want of better words, passive members of the PDP. More of that coming shortly after this break. Do stay with us. So 2 days ago, I had a guest here. We had a similar conversation, and I asked him pointedly, is it scientific, so to speak, to say someone like former President Goodluck Jonathan is still a member of the PDP? And his response was very clear. This was off television. And he said he doesn't have evidence to support the fact that a man is no longer a member of the party because the gentleman has not formally resigned his membership of the party. However, he said that the man is disconnected from the activities of the party because you don't see him flock around with PDP members the way you would have expected. There's that concern. There's perhaps a bigger concern. I mean, you know what has happened in Delta State, for example. There's the speculation that a few more governors are going to follow and all of that. How much more blow is this doing to your party?
You see, I'm of the opinion, I love President Jonathan a lot. I worked for him, I campaigned for him, I gave everything for him. But if we want to be honest with ourselves, he has disappointed the party too. This is a political party that gave him everything, basically made him who he is today. From being, I think, a commissioner also, and then after that became the deputy
governor,
and then became governor and became vice president and then became president. I expected that the president, he's a leader. Who is he leaving the party for? Look at what happened in Ghana. The former governor, former president of Ghana, Mahama. He lost election at the same year Jonathan lost election. In fact, our party logo is the same, umbrella. I remember that time they were saying he was of the same age with Jonathan. But he didn't leave the NCP then. He stood with the political party, even contested again. He failed. He did not abandon ship and say, oh, I'm done, I want to become an elder statesman. He recontested and today he's the president. Former President Jonathan has so much goodwill that even today, if he decides to contest for president, I believe that he will probably be the easiest for anybody to campaign for because he only has one term, constitutionally. And he's from the South. So the Northern Bloc would massively support him. But the truth is, he needs to show that he wants it too. Nobody is going to come and start saying, oh, please, he's not the savior of anybody. If he becomes the president today, people have entrusted their rights to him to say, we believe that you can do this. So I personally believe that I love President Jonathan, but whether he's a member of the party, he has said that he wants to become an elder statesman, but I believe that if he decides to contest for the presidential election, he will stand a very good chance of winning the election. Very good chance.
Do you think that would be a wise thing for the PDP to consider at this point?
There's nothing bad about it, to be honest. But he needs to show character, charisma, aggression, that he wants it. You can't force someone that, like he said, you can't force someone who pretends to be sleeping. If he doesn't want it, there's no point forcing it on him.
Let's talk about Delta State, for example. How significant is that loss?
It's painful. It's painful. These are the issues, And this is why I said that this set of governors, unfortunately, they are extremely disappointing. Look at the president's political trajectory from 1999, how he single-handedly fought and made ACN, what it was.
Talking about Tinubu?
Yes. And then formed an alliance, and today he's the president. Many of these governors do not even have the balls. They chicken out easily. What is the need? What is the big deal? What is the big deal that you are an opposition governor? You are scared that it will rig you out. So it shows that you're not even, if you are performing as a governor, that should be the least of your problems.
But is performance enough in Nigeria?
Yes. I will tell you, yes. Of course, you might say, oh, you still need certain level of ingredient, to complement your performance. Obviously, you can be performing, but if you are fighting with almost every stakeholder or everybody in your party, it becomes practically difficult for them to support you, even with your performance. But the reality is that performance is the key index. It's the top of the chart. So I was surprised. I had seen the move, a few weeks, I think about early this year, the way he was commending the president, saying some things. If the president fails, I fail. If the president succeeds, I succeed. Those kind of. So I suspected it. But it is disappointing because this is a state that have been PDP since 1999. If you couldn't surmount he's a leader, they are leaders, they are complaining that, why couldn't you galvanize your other brother governors, former governors, party leaders, and say, enough of this? And if it's about funding, try to see how you fund the political party. Because at the end of the day, it is a political party that have made you what you are. He was a speaker under this political party, PDP. And that's why it pains me when I see leaders that the party has given virtually almost everything. At the end of the day, they just dump the party. And it is young people like us who go on TV, who go on social media, who go on radio station, still speaking for the party. It doesn't make any sense.
Is it high time the older generation of PDP leadership stepped aside for younger people to come in?
I won't say they should completely, because you need the wisdom of the old. So you
but they can do that from the sidelines.
Yeah, but of course, I believe that they should probably, the youth, young people, not just youth, don't use the word youth, but young people should play a major role in the party, positioning of the party. See, if you instill discipline in PDP today, you were talking about the pleading.
Right.
If you instill discipline today in the party, let me tell you, you've solved at least 70% of the problem of PDP. Even if it's one governor that you have, that people can trust and say, this one governor, we know his heart is in PDP. He's not playing double game. And only 2 senators or 1 House of Rep member. See, the last election showed that you don't need all these former Ds, present Ds, and all those things. Of course, you might need them because of the funding of the party, the running of the party, and all those things. But once the people make up their mind and they see that there's a structure, they see that there's discipline, they see that there's adherence to the rules of the party, Nigerians will galvanize around that party. They will be the ones even funding the party. You'll be surprised the way Nigerians from diaspora, from everywhere they will be interested in making sure that the party survives, because there's rules, there's respect for the constitution of the political party. They see that the party is ready to change. But these things that we are doing, you want to go and beg people that are sabotaging your party, you want to go and you're setting committee up to go and beg them. Beg Wike. If you beg Wike now to come back, will he come out tomorrow and say that he's not more supporting Tinubu? If you beg Otom, who had openly said he's going to support him, will he come out tomorrow and say he's not supporting Tinubu? Philip Adu is following. Are they going to come out and tell you they're not more supporting Tinubu? So what is this whole beg? Every time we are begging.
So
I don't understand.
At this point, would you say the PDP should critically consider alliance, some coalition with other
Of course. I read when the governor said, they received a lot of backlash for that statement that he made. Say, we are not doing any merger or coalition. We believe that. Which PDP? This PDP that has been battered. Who respects this PDP? Go and let's hear what Nigerians say about the PDP. If today they do election, I'm not even sure we'll have 2 governors. So I don't understand this over pompous nature of thinking that the PDP is this.
I spoke with the chieftain of your party who said that the party leadership has resolved that whether they go into a coalition or not, 2 things are very key for them. They don't want to change their name. They don't want to change their logo.
Forget about this.
Are those critical elements?
Those things are not. It's okay. APC today that changed, has it changed the price of Gary? Is your life better? APC changed them, they changed local, they did everything. Change. Is there any change today in Nigeria? They brought broom, logo of broom, who sweep corruption. Are they sweeping corruption today? All those things is not, they are not, for me, they're irrelevant. You have laws. Focus on the laws. See, go and look at the PDP constitution. It's one of the best worded constitution.
The one you people do not regard.
They don't, exactly, because most of all the political parties, go and look at the constitution. They copied most of their constitution from the PDP. Go and read. It's almost the same with PDP. So but when you don't have a political party that can't even respect it, okay, you have one man granting interview every day, insulting the political party, and you're still inviting him for meetings. I don't understand. And then you issue statement tomorrow and say you're one strong, formidable party and all those things. Nigerians don't take you seriously. The only hope today is a strong coalition, and that's the honest truth. Because we are in a full-blown one state, what do you call it? One party
system.
Right. As it stands today. More, even to this moment, I know a lot of governors, even senators and House of Rep members that will probably leave the party.
As we wrap up, let's deviate a little, but still with the PDP. There's the speculation now that suspended Governor Fubara is going to return to the government house in Port Harcourt, and he's met with the president in London. Of course, he has also had his interaction with Wike, which Wike didn't deny. The only thing he mentioned was that he came with 2 APC governors and all of that. Talk to us about the River State's issue, how it affects the PDP, for example.
It's one issue that don't. Some of us supported Fubara, with everything. Even when we met with some of their stakeholders, they asked for our support. We were a bit reluctant, but we said if it's going to help improve the democratic conversation and the democratic rights of the governor and respect for the rule of law, we will support him, and we did. But it was disappointing to see, especially in the last few days, I didn't send anybody to fight for me, I didn't do this, I didn't do that. You see, these are the problem. And this is why I blame some of all these governors.
So you think that statement was a sign of betrayal?
Of course, many of these governors who try to impose people
to succeed them.
And you do that most times, they bring in people that do not even have, a strong relationship, a strong bond with the political party. So you bring people that are easily, you can just easily bully them. And look at Akwa Ibom. The governor that came in, Akwa Ibom is one of the best run states in Nigeria today. You have no reason to be scared. There was no way Akwa Ibom people would have voted you out if you perform. In less than 2 years, he was busy romancing.
You think so? Even with somebody like the president of the Senate in the opposition?
Which president of the Senate? So president of the Senate will make Akwa Ibom people to vote against a man that is doing well. Someone that was a key player during the Buhari government. Did you see the way they celebrated his arrival into the APC? How many senators did he win for APC? I'm not saying he won't win influence, don't get me wrong. But I'm saying that no matter the influence, for example, I'm a strong critic of Minister Wike. But when somebody has done well, look at the way Wike played opposition when he was the governor. Just oppose it and compare with what you have today with the governors here. Wike played opposition to the standstill. He showed the Buhari's government. Look at the way the 2019 election. I was in Rivers State in 2016 when the appeal court cancelled the entire election. It was only Wike's election that they didn't cancel. We were in Rivers State for that. We were sent from the national office for that election. I know the role that man played. In fact, even with the midst of guns, shooting of guns, he still went and challenged the APC guy. I remember then there was one of the APC members who put APC cap on the INEC commissioner also. It wasn't a small matter then. Even with shooting of gun, you see the man was bold enough to confront APC. How can governors just be chickening out like this, and then you think it's not even proper for our democracy? It's not proper because you have backing, you have constitutional backing, you have immunity. There's nobody that's going to come and say, oh, it's because of the lackadaisical attitude of the PDP governors that made the president to take the decision he took by suspending a fellow governor and suspending all institutions of government. It's because of the lackadaisical attitude of the PDP governors. If you had governors that had balls, that knew their rights, that knew what they were supposed to do, there will not be any issue like that. Why would you think that anybody will just come up and do that kind of a thing? But because you don't have governors who understands their rights, who knows what to do at the time. Instead, you have governors who, some of them are fighting to become president, some are fighting to sabotage the party. Some are even telling the president that we can even sabotage the party more than what Wike is doing.
Just give us a second term.
So right, it's annoying.
They say
but the only hope, as we ramped up today, and just to encourage Nigerians that there is going to be a strong coalition.
Oh, that's a guarantee.
It's a
all right, I think you and I need to talk about that coalition going forward, but that will be for another day. I'd like to say big
because if we don't have that coalition, right? Let me tell you, we're in a full one-party state. We need that coalition. That even if I'm not saying maybe even if, so that we can even have people that want to contest for Senate, House of Rep, you can challenge. Do you know what it means? That if you have an aspiration and you believe in yourself, if you are not in APC, you don't have hope of contesting.
Well, I guess that's a piece of work that the PDP would need to sort out.
No, forget about PDP
and in future, or maybe the coalition, I should say.
The coalition.
All right, great. Thank you so very much, Emmanuel Umeh, for coming to talk to us. Emmanuel Umeh, for the records, is former head of new media at the People's Democratic Party. All right, we'll take a quick break. When we return, we'll draw the curtains on today's edition of the program. Do stay with us.